everybody.
Hey.
I am here with Teresa, as you can see, and we got the pleasure of being together.
Yes, another weekend.
Woohoo! It's been a while. So we have, we're doing another episode of 5 Quick Questions.
Right.
So, all right. You want to go first?
Okay. What animal would you least like to see in your house when you get home from work?
Oh, my. What animal? I would have to say something large would be bad. Like a grizzly bear, that would be bad.
Okay.
That would be very
So,
bad.
but is that the least? You can't possibly think of one more animal that would be worse than a grizzly bear.
A whale?
A whale would be super bad. Because if we're gonna,
I'm thinking large.
we're gonna assume it's dead. A dead whale.
I think, yeah, whale. Maybe whale. Yeah, that would be a lot to deal with.
That's fair. See, I didn't know if you were going to go like with something that was going to attack you like a grizzly bear or just something inconvenient. I would say a whale is mainly, whales are inconvenient.
Very, very inconvenient. It would be bad
The
to find a
inconvenient
whale
whale.
in your living room.
So who would you call? Like, what would your plan of action be?
Oh my gosh. I would you call the DNR for a whale? I don't know who you would call.
I think I would call the news.
Maybe. But they're just going to gum up the works. They're going to not help with solving the problem.
Okay.
They're not going to help. It would have to be...
Like a chainsaw dealer?
I think there was a story. Have you ever heard the story? I heard it on a podcast one time of a whale that had like beached and they put dynamite in it or something.
Yeah,
and they blew
I
it
saw
up
that.
and then
Yep.
they had like a much bigger problem because
Yeah.
there were chunks of rotting whale all over
Everywhere.
the town.
Everywhere. That's one of those you don't think through, maybe.
Yeah. No, that was not the best plan.
There had to be men involved with that one. No sensible woman would be like, you know what we need in addition to this dead whale is dynamite.
That's very true.
All right.
All right. I'm not. What? How about you? What animal would you be mortified to find?
I mean, my first thought when I was writing the question was like killer whale,
Oh,
killer
yeah.
like a shark of some kind or a.
Right.
But that also would be dead. Like I guess a dead shark
A
is
dead
less.
anything.
Yeah, dead
Yeah.
anything would be real bad.
Yeah.
So I think good choice on the whale.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What trip is at the top of your bucket list? Do you have a trip?
See, I don't really like to travel.
Oh.
I'd
Really?
rather be home every day of the year forever.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yep. I don't like to travel. I don't like to plan traveling. I don't like getting places. I like being places.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I always just think like, oh, there's things I should be doing at home. I'd rather be home in my own bed.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of always been that way. I'm not much of a traveler. My husband and I have talked about going back to England. I've been there once.
Yeah.
So I think if I was going to go
'cause
somewhere.
That's what I was thinking because I remember you telling me about that trip.
Yeah, and I've been there once, but I think it'd be fun to go again now that we have a little money because we had like no money, so we were kind of bumming.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
not-
Like
Yeah, might be able to
Europe
do
on
something.
$5 a day. Yeah, that's,
Right,
it's
yeah.
much more fun to do it when you
Yeah.
have.
So
some
I
money to spend.
think if I was going to go somewhere like, I would say London, or just England in general.
Okay.
I think we've also talked about Colonial Williamsburg.
Yeah, I've never been
I
out
think
that
would be kinda
direction
neat.
either.
How about you? Because you've been a few places.
Yeah, and I love to travel with my mom. And I'll tell you the coolest trip we've been on was the Christmas markets. That was a river cruise, and that was really cool. That was like stepping back in time. That was really, really neat. I liked it.
And
It
where was that,
cold.
though?
We started off in Germany. Well, we started off in Prague and did like a pre-cruise thing in Prague, and then we drove down by bus and jumped on the river at that point, and we ended from Passau, Germany, through Austria, through Bratislava, Slovakia. What was the other one? I can't think of the others. Budapest is where we ended up. There's another country that I'm missing out. So that was just magical, and it was cold. But they're not going to set the Christmas markets up for you in July. So,
No,
I
yeah,
mean,
you just pretty much have to do it when they do it.
But it was so
Christmas.
charming and so amazing, and it
Yeah.
was great fun. That
Okay.
was my favorite trip. So.
Cool.
And I'd totally do it again, too.
What stitching or crafting mishap still makes you angry?
Oh, okay. I'll tell you.
She knows it right away.
And
Do
this
you?
wasn't even, it just brings back such anxiety. I can't even tell you. So, oh, people are just going to die when they hear this story because I still am horrified by it. I was working at, we were starving. We were still, my husband and I, when we got married, we still, neither one of us was done with college.
Right.
And so I was working while he finished and then vice versa.
Yep.
So we had just these small jobs. And I was working at a Ben Franklin. And I was helping in the framing department, which is another thing you and I have in common. We both worked at framing shops.
And I worked at a Ben Franklin for a summer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In the frame shop. I sure did.
Funny. Weird. So, so this was a Ben Franklin. And I was, in the zone and I was ironing a piece and everything. And then someone came to the frame counter and, ding. And I was like, oh, and like I just set the iron down on a needlework piece. And you can imagine what happened. And I walked to the counter and helped this lady. And I came back and it was like, and gasped. And of course, I left a big iron scorch.
That's totally not like you either.
I know. It was on, because I was in the zone. I was ironing. I was trying to get this crease out. I was getting ready to pin it. And then, like the ding of the bell just startled me. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry to keep you waiting kind of thing. That's what pulled me away.
So what happened?
I scorched someone's needlework. It was a lighthouse. I told the shop owner, because he was not happy with me at all.
No.
And I felt horrible. And I said, I can totally stitch this for this lady. I will make it up to her. And I didn't know how I was going to do it either because I was like studying for, and I had this job. And I was like, when am I going to find the time to stitch this ugly lighthouse for this woman? Because I was not into, that was not my vibe at all. And luckily, the shop owner called this lady and she could not have been nicer about it. And she was just like, it's no big deal. I just had, it wasn't a big piece. It was probably like, 5 by 7-ish. But she just said, it's no big deal. I mean, he compensated her with a gift certificate or something. And she was completely fine with that. She wasn't like bent out of shape, like, oh my gosh, I worked on that for ages. It was a gift. And
right.
She just was like, oh, it was just something I had that I should get framed. So, but still horrified by that incident. So thank you for bringing that up.
I hadn't heard that story before, though.
Haven't you?
No.
Because I'm so embarrassed by it. I just was like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's... Oh, I've never done that.
That might be the worst mistake I ever made. But, well, like stitching related. So there's my mishap.
Okay. Stitching or crafting mishap, so that counts.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember, I'm going to talk about, well, you won't think it's the worst one, though. It was something that happened when we were at the Silver Needle in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you had brought that.
Oh, yeah.
It was
that, and I don't even care about it. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. I brought my piece, and I was going to do a finishing thing, and I was cutting backing fabric, and I sliced my model in half.
Like with the rotary cutter.
With the rotary cutter, just sliced it in half.
It was like underneath some fabric, and she just going along cutting, and then she got to this part that was just a little thicker.
Yeah, I just was like, oh, it's a little thicker.
Oh, it's thicker here.
But you know what? I don't care about that. The worst one was I was stitching a reproduction model, and it had a bunch of over one, the verse, and I on 40 count, so tiny words, and I started it in the wrong spot. And then I tried to pick it out, and it would not come out. Over one on 40 count is extremely, especially with silk, is extremely picky to pick out. And if you can get it out, there's all these fibers left embedded in the linen. And so I just had to leave it and then make a note on the chart that I had made a mistake, and please chart it as, that one was, because
when you talked to me, that was the baby died one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I was like,
that sampler is just bad luck.
It is bad luck. And it was late at night. It was like midnight or 1 a.m. And I was like, wait, this doesn't make sense, and I start kind of sizing things up, and I had done a lot in the wrong spot.
I remember that.
And it was one of those where I was trying to get it done for market, so I was staying up very late every night. Yeah, that was not good, but you know what? It's just stitching. Like, who cares?
We live to tell the tale.
We
Both
do.
of us. We do.
Okay. Oh, so now that's your question.
Okay. Yep. What's your favorite kind of cake?
German chocolate, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I do like cake. I don't know if I could say there's a favorite. Like a good just standard birthday cake with the buttercream frosting. Mm-hmm. Like a moist white cake is good.
Did you have McGlynn Bakeries? in
No.
Fargo?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. There was, McGlynn Bakeries were a thing in Minnesota, and I think they were somehow affiliated with Target. At least they were in our local Target. But they had the best white cake. I remember that.
Cashwise had this really good cake that was like, it was like $9 for a whole like 2-tier circular cake. And it was like an almond joy cake or a Mounds cake.
Oh, wow.
So it was chocolate cake, and then the creamy coconut goo that they put inside like candies, they did in the middle layer and then on the top, and then it was piped and covered with chocolate frosting. So it was chocolate and all this coconut. They put maraschino cherry on the top of the cake. And it tasted, it was really good.
I bet.
Very
I bet
sweet. I like coconut though. So like chocolate and coconut to me is great.
Coconut. Yep.
Yep. How about you?
My mom made angel food cake on our birthdays. I remember she had, I wonder if I can even find a picture of it, but you would buy like the little decorations at the grocery store to decorate cakes with, because back then your mom baked your birthday cake. You didn't order, that was taboo, you know.
We actually got ordered cakes.
Did
but
you?
Mom was not a great cook, so.
Oh, yeah, no, we did not. We had to, but she would buy little doodads or whatever to go on the top. So I remember she made me an angel food cake one time, and she put like pink, it was the confetti angel food, because that's the right angel food.
Right.
The confetti angel food. And then she would do, which was actually a box mix, which was, even that was a stretch. You got a box cake on your birthday, otherwise it had to be
But you know
made
what?
from
Even an
scratch.
angel food cake box mix, which we make them around Easter with strawberries and whipped cream.
Yeah.
It's like $1.98 even now.
Right.
And all you add is water.
I know.
There's no eggs.
It was my favorite cake.
Nothing
it was
else.
My favorite, yeah. And she had this little carousel set that she put on the top of it.
Cute.
So it was like this little, and then she put a pink. She dyed the glaze pink. She drizzled this glaze over it and down the side, and then there was like a little circus tent with carousel thing. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I might have.
Cool.
I'll see if I can find a picture of it. All right.
Great.
Okay. That was my. So you have.
Oh, that was yours.
Yep.
Okay, so number 3. What smell takes you back to childhood? And it can be a bad smell or a good smell, or just a memory smell.
I don't know what the smell is, but it's.
I don't know what the smell is.
It's my grandparents' house. Like every now and
Yeah, it's
again.
kind of like a little buggy, a little musty, a little rose,
Yeah,
like
and
kind of
maybe
floral.
a little Sunday dinner mixed in.
Kind
I
of
don't know.
like cleaning products. and-
Yeah. Or I love that vintage smell from like vintage mechanical things.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's an old car.
Yeah,
like
it's kind of
if
an
you see
oil,
an old
kind of grotty dirt, some dirt kind of
exactly. Like an old sewing machine might have it, but it's like a grease smell kind of. It's I love.
There's like a
that
metallic
smell.
kind of a tang smell, kind of a tangy metallic.
A little bake light
Yep,
mixed in. Yeah, and you like stick your head in an old car and you're like, oh, I can smell that vintage smell. I love that smell. I love vintage things. So, okay.
Okay.
Favorite TV show as a kid?
Muppet Show.
Really?
Oh my
The
gosh,
Muppet
yeah.
Show.
Muppet Show, 100%.
Wow.
Yep.
That's so
Love
funny.
the Muppet Show. I was a big fan also of the Batman, the live action, the real campy series. It was on Sunday nights at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
And
they were funny.
yeah, super funny.
Now, if you watch it today, it's hysterical.
Oh, super funny. Yeah, it's even funnier because you back then it was campy. Now it's like, holy, how much campier could you get?
What did I love about this? Oh, that's pretty good.
How about you? You liked that Emergency.
I loved Emergency.
Yeah.
I wanted to be Dixie McCall. I totally wanted to be Dixie McCall from the time I was like 4 years old because she had it down. That woman ran that ER at Rampart General in Los Angeles County. Johnny and
You wanted to be a
Roy.
mechanic, and I wanted to see like the Muppets blow things up and act just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, I loved
all right.
Emergency. Yeah. What about like Saturday morning cartoons?
Yeah, I loved Saturday morning cartoons.
What
I'm trying to
was-
think if there were any that were like my absolute favorite. I don't like what Looney Tunes has become. I feel like it's kind of white trashy these days. But Looney Tunes, I really liked the classic, like the old old Looney Tunes. Old Scooby Doo. Not once Scrappy Doo got involved, it was
Agreed.
crap.
Totally agree.
Yep,
Yep.
ridiculous.
And why could Scrappy talk and Scooby couldn't? Like Scooby could just go.
Yeah, they should have.
Yeah. And Scrappy was just obnoxious.
He was obnoxious. It
Yeah.
wasn't good anymore.
Yeah, I didn't like Scrappy at all.
Yeah,
either.
I don't know if it really. I liked the the like Batman, Superman. What was that one called? Where it was like
the Super Friends?
Yeah, Super Friends.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. Land of the Lost.
Mm,
Really?
kind of corny. Even as a kid, I was like, "This
Will
is."
and Holly on a routine expedition.
Kind of corny. I always thought the dad was so. The dad was like,
on.
the dad was all goody two shoes, and I don't know. It's just kind of
And
like
the sleigh sack that moved like 4 miles an hour,
I
and
know.
somehow they could never get away.
I don't know. Not so much. Not so much for me.
I liked Land of the Lost. I was like, how are they going to get back? Okay.
Oh, okay.
All
So is it mine?
Yep.
What was your first stitching project?
Oh, it was a little Girl Scout. No, campfire girls. I was not a Girl Scout. I was a campfire girl. And I think my mom was our leader, actually, and she organized a stitching day where we all had to learn, and I still have it. I think I've shown it on my first floss tube or something, but it's just, the little plastic frames.
Yeah.
But it was just a little Christmas tree, and we all stitched one, and it's in a little green frame.
Yeah. So you still have yours?
Yep.
Good. Cool.
Yep. That
I
was
think
it.
mine
And
got
yours
thrown
was-
away. Mine was at 4-H camp, and I was
that's
10.
Right. And you bought it at the little
I
store.
bought a little plastic needlepoint kit with strawberries
Yeah.
for $3, I think.
Yeah.
And it came with a little, just poorly mimeographed instruction sheet. Yeah.
That's right. And you actually did it wrong. Or
I did it
something.
wrong. I
Yeah.
started it in the very bottom corner. Like I thought you were supposed to start it at the edge. I didn't know you started in so that it was centered so you could frame
That
it.
makes sense.
And then I didn't understand that you would stitch a motif because it had the background was full.
Okay.
So I would
Okay.
stitch here's the background 5 stitches, and then I would just pull my needle off and let the thread dangle. And then I'd thread the red and stitch however. So it was like eating a cob of corn, where I thought you had to stitch
Left
all
to
the way
right.
across. Yep, that you would just do it like a typewriter. Is kind of how I thought you went.
Oh, funny.
So I would, when I was done with
'Cause
the
nobody
3
showed you
red,
that.
no one showed me.
Yeah.
And I was 10 and I was in a cabin and I probably had a bunch of mosquito bites and
Yeah.
was full of candy,
That's right.
doing my best.
That's right. You were. All right. It's my turn, right? Yeah.
Yep.
What is your least favorite board game? Like what game somebody pulls out? and you're
Monopoly
like,
is garbage.
Yes, thank you.
It's garbage. And my brother
Dumb.
is mean. He makes you angry. He's one of those guys that offers to buy your property and then keeps lowering the price just to make you angry. And then later in the game when you're dying and you're in poverty, he's
Right.
like, you should have let me buy that property of yours. And it takes forever.
It does.
And
Like, you
nothing
have to-
exciting happens.
Yes.
You know what other one is disappointing is Mousetrap if you play the game.
Agreed.
What you want to do is just build it and make the
and
thing
just
go.
make the thing fall.
You don't
And
wanna,
that's it. That's the whole game right there.
That's the
It's
whole-
just, if you can capture somebody's mouse.
Right, but I mean, I just think build it and play with it.
Right.
That's the right way to play.
Agreed.
play
That is a
Mousetrap.
dumb game.
So you agree on Monopoly then?
I agree with Monopoly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
What game did you love? Either then.
Oh,
or
you know,
now.
I always really liked Chutes and Ladders.
Okay.
I always thought that one was kind of fun. Payday was fun.
That's so funny you say that because I was just gonna say my friends and I played Payday all the time.
My
Payday was fun.
My sister and her husband, when they were newly married, got into playing Sorry,
Yeah.
and they had to quit because it was becoming too aggressive. They're not even really super competitive people. It's just that their marriage culture, for some reason, it became like the big bragging rights or whatever. So she said it got to where they'd hit somebody on the board and chuck them off and go sorry. She said pretty soon we were like, we should not play that anymore. We're not being nice to each other.
Another one that can get really physical is either the card game Spoon. You know that one?
No.
It's basically kind of a card version of
Solitaire?
of musical chairs.
Oh.
So there's 5 people and 4 spoons, and if you have to just pass cards until you have 4 of a kind.
Oh, okay.
And then the first person that has 4 of a kind grabs the spoon in the center.
Yeah.
But everybody sees that, and then everybody has to get one, but there's one person that's left out.
Oh.
So there ends up being like wrestling matches, and yeah, my mom almost had her leg broken in a game of Spoon.
Yeah,
and
that's-
I'm sure there was alcohol involved by the people wrestling over the spoon.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Yeah.
We used to play a game called
the
Nerds.
table broke. And,
Yeah.
and all these drinks and everything. Anyway, she won't appreciate me sharing that story, I'm sure.
She shouldn't have been participating then. She should have.
It was not her fault at all. Like, it was the men of the group that were like, "You're not getting that spoon," and they were like, "Oh," but yeah. Okay.
All right. What food or dish or whatever is the best one you make? Where like your kids or your family or your friends are like, I love it when you make this or whatever. Or even you're just like, this is delicious.
My kids would say what we call pizza pie. And it's a recipe that I got out of one of the Betty Crocker Bake Off cookbooks.
Okay.
Or Pillsbury Bake Off. What
Okay.
is it? Betty Crocker or Pillsbury? Pillsbury Bake Off. Yeah. And it's one of those little grocery store things that you buy by the checkout. Mm-hmm. And there was a pizza pie in there. I forget what it's called, but we just call it pizza pie.
Mm-hmm.
You make it in a pie plate, and it's basically crescent crust. Yeah. Crescent roll crust. And then you add fresh tomatoes, provolone cheese, basil, and garlic, and you just like layer them and sprinkle Parmesan cheese on top and some black pepper and cook it and call it good. And my kids love it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, they ask for it a lot. They're like, we should have pizza pie tonight. So, but you need fresh basil and and fresh tomatoes are good. So it's a great. It would be the perfect summer thing to use up like basil and tomatoes, except you have to put the oven on.
Oh,
and
right.
My mom is of that generation. Where you don't put the oven on.
No, let's have sandwiches.
You don't put the oven on when it's hot outside.
Right, right.
And that's when those things are in season.
Yeah.
So otherwise, yeah. Okay. What about you? What do you make?
I would say it's probably like a tie between pierogi and pie.
Oh, pierogi.
I make really good pierogies. My grandma showed me how.
Yeah.
And so I make farmer's cheese pierogies is one type, and then sauerkraut pierogies is the other one.
I would love that.
So it's basically
sauerkraut.
So like you make noodles, and it's kind of like a calzone. So you cut out little circles, and you fill it with sauerkraut, with onion, egg, salt, and pepper. And you rinse the sauerkraut so it's not so sour. You rinse it, and then you squeeze it out to be almost dry. And then you chop it fine so it's not big strings hanging out every place. And so you can do sauerkraut, and then the farmer's cheese is kind of like a cottage cheese. It's really thin, kind of like a ricotta sort of.
Okay,
yeah.
Yep.
And use, again, egg. And the egg works as a binder, and then salt and pepper, and onion.
Oh, it sounds
and
good.
then you take these pierogies and you boil them so that it's fresh. It's fresh pasta dough.
Yeah.
You boil it. Once it floats to the top, you take it out. Then you fry it in butter.
Oh my gosh.
Then
how can you go wrong?
You put sour cream on top of it. And salt and pepper. It's so good. And then my pie, I've been making pies a long, long time, and I have got pie crust down. The last time I made it, I was like, I seriously am a professional at this point. Because you could break the pie crust. I make when I'm done making pie, the scraps get made into, we call them little devils.
Oh yeah,
where it's just we just put the scraps on a thing with sugar and salt or sugar and pepper, sugar and cinnamon. Cinnamon and sugar.
That's what I was thinking.
not salt and pepper, but you could. And then if you broke it, you could see like all these layers, like so many layers. And the trick is cold butter, and do not overmix it.
Oh.
That's the mistake people make is all you want to have happen is I use a pastry cutter and I cut it down and then I mix it until just it's combined, and you should still see pea-sized chunks of butter in your dough.
Okay.
And then in the fridge for half an hour, take it out and roll it. And again, don't roll it too much because the butter, the pea-sized pieces of butter is what makes it really flaky.
Yeah.
If you incorporate the butter too much so that it's all, you should be able to cut your pastry ball in half and just see like, you know, just dots all over the place of butter. Yeah, very good.
You heard it here, folks.
You heard it here.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. What is the worst thing you have ever eaten? And I think that's number 5 for me.
Yeah, that was 5 for me.
Okay.
The worst thing I've ever eaten. That's food? Does it have to be food?
I guess not. No.
Gosh, I'm trying to think.
What
the worst thing
you
you've
have
eaten? I don't know. I read a book about a kid who ate fried worms, I guess. That would be worse. I never did that, but
I'm funny with like textures. I remember like I don't care for yogurt, but I wish I did.
Yeah.
I'm fine with pudding, but I don't like yogurt. I don't know. I'm very
Steve doesn't
weird.
like yogurt either. I don't know what
I
he
wish
says.
I
It's kind
did,
of a
'cause
mucusy
it's-
feeling.
Yeah, and I wish I did because it's so good for you. And I wish I liked green tea, but that wasn't your question. I remember trying tapioca pudding as a kid at my
I like
grandma's
tapioca
house,
pudding.
and I didn't like that
I think
at
the
all.
worst thing I remember eating, and it was only one time. My mom, you know, like in the 70s, people used to have, hi.
Sorry.
You're okay. You can be up in the background.
You're totally fine.
So I think we got invited over to somebody's house, you know, in the 70s. And it was not a fun time because they didn't have kids. And so there was nothing for us to do. The grown-ups were all in the basement eating. The kids were eating upstairs, and we were watching like Barney Miller or something dumb like that. And she had made like Mexican food kind of. But she was a bad cook. I mean, it like made me gag. Like it was really bad. I don't even really remember. I just remember it was just like some kind of Mexican pie or some kind of Mexican hot dish or something.
Yeah.
And it was just terrible. And it was such a boring evening because there was nothing to do, and the grown-ups didn't want us downstairs, nor did they want to take us home. I wish they would have just gotten a babysitter.
Yeah.
And then the host came up and said, well, I've got dessert. And I was like, oh, what is it? And she said pudding. And I was like, yes, because I love pudding to this day. I love pudding. And she said butterscotch. And I was like, no, not butterscotch with, So
not butterscotch pudding, but other puddings are
as a kid, I think, I don't like butterscotch pudding. It's got to be chocolate or vanilla or pistachio. Like there's a lot of things it could be, not butterscotch.
Interesting. Remember the pudding where you had to cook it and it got the film on the top?
Yes, the film was the best part.
Yeah.
You kind of pick it off and it would kind of come off in a sheet.
Yeah.
My cousin's dad I would sleep over at her house all the time, and she'd be like, you want ice cream? And I'd be like, yeah, I want ice cream. And I'd say, what kind do you have? And she goes, I think we have butter brickle or like rum raisin. I'm like, no, I don't want that. And the thing is, her dad liked ice cream, and he also didn't like butter brickle or rum raisin, but he knew that his children wouldn't eat it. So he bitterly ate ice cream that he didn't like because it was there because his kids wouldn't eat it.
That's something
he just wanted ice cream that is just like my ice cream.
Mine.
Yeah, and not share.
More me now.
So everybody either didn't have ice cream or they ate it just out of spite. Just like this is spite ice cream.
Here's the other thing that I should have answered with this, because I bet my mom, when she watches this, will be surprised that I said tapioca pudding. Pickled herring. Oh.
Yeah, no thanks. I've never even tried it.
So, yeah.
Don't do that.
I know.
And I've had lutefisk.
And I'm like super Scandinavian. I'm way Scandinavian. And pickled herring.
Have you eaten lutefisk?
I have not.
Not terrible.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of weird. I mean, it's kind of got an unusual flavor because it's been soaked in lye.
Yeah.
But you serve it with butter and salt and pepper. It's
not
flaky.
terrible.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
Okay.
But no, I've never even.
I've heard
pickled
you have
herring,
to know
no
how
thanks.
to cook it correctly.
Yeah.
It's good if it's properly cooked.
Right.
Otherwise, it's very gelatinous
Right.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and Pop Rocks. Do not like Pop Rocks.
Interesting. Yeah, that was a weird phase or weird fad.
Because everybody's like, oh, I heard that it was the Life cereal kid died because he ate Pop Rocks and then drank
Urban
Coke.
legend.
Yeah, it was the urban legend that the Life cereal kid died. Back in the day when there was no internet and people would just make stuff up, and they're like, hey, did you hear the Life cereal kid? He's dead from Pop Rocks.
What about, did you ever hear the old wives' tale about, like, if you swallow gum, it stays in your stomach for 7 years?
Yeah.
I remember just adding up, like, thinking, I've just got 3 years to go, and that gum that I swallowed, 3 years ago or 4 years ago will be good. Why did we think that? Such dumb things.
I think parents tell you stuff like that. Like if you swallow watermelon seeds, a watermelon's going to grow in your stomach.
Yeah.
My grandpa once.
Who cares if you swallowed gum? I mean, it's not like gum came out. Not to be crass,
people back then were weird.
Yeah.
My grandpa, one time I was playing, I remember playing with my gum, when you just like have it in your mouth and you just kind of string it and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember my grandpa in the car one time saying, don't play with your gum, you'll get worms in it. And I was like, oh, I don't want worms in my gum, right? And for years I was terrified. I was like, do not touch your gum because you will get worms in it. And I just remember at some point getting old enough where I was like, I bet he said germs.
Oh, sure.
But for some reason as a little kid I thought he said worms.
Right.
Yeah. So if you ever need to write a poem, about germs, worms is a great rhyme.
It's a good rhyme.
Yep.
Note to self.
Yep.
I'm going to write it down right now. On that note.
Joims and woims.
That's right. On that note, there's another episode of 5 Quick Questions.
5 quick questions.
That's
things
right.
things you didn't want to know that now you do. You cannot unknow them.
That's right. Sorry, not sorry. All right. See
Bye.
ya. Bye.